Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Ray Luzier from the band Korn, and I am here in Nashville, Tennessee, in the wonderful Rock Falcon Studios. Look at that. I got the shirt on. I'm repping it. I am sitting by the one, the only, Nick Raskulinecz.
Hi, everybody.
Can you believe this? And I just wanted to say what most people are saying about Neil, how influential he was to me and what he did for all of our playing. Just the precision he had and dexterity, stamina, everything that involves my playing to this day, since the first time I ever heard Neil play, stays true, and it's on fire to this absolute day. So Nick did the last two records. He did the most amazing, to me. I love it's. To me, they sound just phenomenal, the last two Rush records.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ray.
Of course. Clockwork Angels, Snakes and Arrows. Nick, what do you have to say about Neil?
Man, Neil was, there's so many things to say about Neil, but, as growing up, just being influenced by his drumming and his lyrical writing and the band Rush in general, and then, actually getting to be in the room and record and produce and work with Neil, like in this context now was, it was amazing. It was, it was everybody, everybody talks about how great Neil Peart is. It's all true.
Yeah.
He was amazing across the board.
Yeah. And when you're in a studio like this setting, it's more of a personal level too, because his emotions are coming through his playing, but also you guys are taking breaks. You're talking, you're eating dinner, that's a whole nother realm.
Yeah, the hang that happens, with making a record, as with the records we've made together.
Yeah.
It's kind of like being in a sub for a couple months, and you really get to become close and tight with the friends.
Sometimes too close.
Yeah, sometimes. Probably working with Neil immediately, one of the things that really stuck out to me was how fluid he was around the kit, and how hard he hit. He was, if you stood right in front of him, 5 feet in front of his kick and his snare when he's playing in the room, you can feel it in your chest.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the drum room with him and just wow, he is hitting the drums so hard and consistent, but also not as hard as you might think. He's not like caveman hard. He's like swing hard.
Yeah. You got to tell them the story that you told me when you were in there and challenging Neil, because he's Neil. You're not going to say hey, do that take again, but you did that.
Yeah, I did. He was, he was up for the challenge, and he was everything everybody thinks about him. He was great. He was consistent. He hit hard, and he had great ideas, and his fills were amazing. He was such great Neil, and I would sometimes run out of the control room, and stop him in the middle of a take, and he'd kind of be playing, and he'd kind of look up at me, and he'd kind of stop playing and take his headphones off and be like, yeah, and I could hear the track on his headphones still click, dook, 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 and he's looking at me and I'm like, dude, instead of that fill going in, remember that thing you did on Vital Signs, that fucking reverse, on the outro? I'm like, give me one of those going into the chorus.
Yeesh.
And he's just like, all right, cool, roll the tape back, let's go.
Wow.
So he loved that. He loved the challenge.
Right.
Anything I could throw at him, he would try and master immediately, or be like, I'm not really feeling that. I'd be like, all right, cool, let's try something else. But one thing about you, Ray, and I think the world should know, is that, when we've recorded together, I can feel, Neil's influence on your playing in some in certain ways, in certain fills, in certain ways you approach rhythms and timing, and I know he was a huge influence on you.
Huge, yeah. I appreciate you saying that. It's true. I always wondered, when I was little, playing the stacks of records back when the needle would end and then the next record would fall down. I'd have Back in Black on, and then Moving Pictures would be the next one.
Yeah.
And I always remember going how come I can't? What's going on? The 4 on the floor compared to all the fills, but he taught me from way back then how to execute properly and how to listen for cleanliness and all that stuff. It all ties into who you are today, who you are, everybody.
Yeah, he was a very clean player, and the way he hit the drums, and I actually, just for fun, I brought a couple drumsticks out that we used, and we used these to record on Clockwork Angels.
What?
And check this out.
Can I touch them?
These are these little light, skinny Pro Mart sticks. Check them out.
They are.
But this is obviously his hi-hat one, because look how chopped up
look
that
at
is.
That.
Right?
Look at that.
Isn't that cool?
Unbelievable. Wow. Do you know what song this was on?
I think that might have been the song Clockwork Angels. I'm not completely sure.
Oh, let me just let that soak into my skin.
I remember after the drum take, when it was one of those ones where it was like, that's the one, I walked back there and swiped them.
Oh, unbelievable. You remember the first time you saw him live?
Yeah, it was in Knoxville in 1982. I was 12.
What?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
I didn't see him until like 10 years ago.
That was my very beginning of Rush and like going to see concerts, and I saw
gosh.
Ozzy around that time in Rush and AC/DC. And
I had to take my wife to the Forum because I said, you got to see, you know, it's not really her bag or style of music, but I said, you got to see we're sat right at the front of the house and everybody just air jamming and played bass and singing, and she was just blown away at how influential they were.
Yeah, you know, and being in the studio with them, you know, most of my experience with them was at first was in the studio, and you know, kind of developed into other hangouts, if you will. But it was just how great of players all three of them are,
right?
You know, and how they really played off of each other, and you know, the lyrical part of this that Neil brought together, the excitement that Geddy and Alex would have in addition to his drumming, was also really, really cool to witness and be a part of.
It's one thing Chris Stanke from Sabian was saying too, how great of a human Neil was, and just how personable, and he would ride motorcycles to the gigs with him and help tech, and just wow.
We had many great hang times, you know. After a couple takes, we would go outside and discuss, which meant a smoke break for him.
Right. So cool.
You know, and I would hang out. We would sit out in front of whatever studio we were at, and we'd hang out. If we were at a lair, we'd hang out in the rain up in the woods, or you know, for 10 or 15 minutes, and he would just sit there and think, and it was really awesome to be a part of, man. And then he'd go in, and the next couple passes were usually the takes.
Just killing it.
Yeah, just killing it.
Well, thanks so much for sharing that with us. And Nick Raskulinecz, everybody. I'm so happy to be here talking about the one, the only Neil. He will live on forever.
Yep, he's the greatest of all time. We've got, 20 records of amazing drumming to listen to and love for the rest of our lives. I mean, you know, Neil really gave it up and dedicated himself to his craft and everything that he does. And I think that is apparent in a couple of guys like us that continue to do what we love to do.
Absolutely.
And, you know, he'll be around forever.
Absolutely. All hail Neil.
Master.